Warriors adding Cousins with a one-year deal for $5.3 million. He was fantastic last year, averaging 25 points per game playing with the Pelicans, but his season got cut short by that torn Achilles. He averages 22 points, 11 boards for his career, and he gives the Warriors a post presence that has been the only thing lacking during their run the last 4 years. For more, let's bring in Mark Spears, who actually spoke to DeMarcus Cousins in the wake of this deal. What did he tell you, Mark?
Well, he told me he was shocked, and all these major free agents, and he was one of them, got to 12:01 on the beginning of free agency. He had no offers. And I'll repeat that again. He had no offers, not from the Pelicans, not from nobody. And so he was very confused, very distraught. On early Monday morning in Vegas, he got on his balcony and really thought about things at 5 a.m., called his agent, and decided he had to play the ace that he had, and that ace was the Golden State Warriors. Around 8 a.m. Pacific this morning, he called Bob Myers. Stan, he called the Warriors general manager and said he was willing or interested in taking the mid-level exception. So after talking to Steph, after talking to Draymond, who's vacationing in Greece, and after talking to Kevin Durant, he decided that with their excitement about him potentially coming, that he wanted to be a Golden State Warrior and took the mid-level exception to do it.
All right, so now he's coming off the Achilles injury. What's the timetable looking like for him to return to the court?
Well, and you're talking about a four-time All-Star here, too, going with 4 All-Stars.
Right.
But what he told me a couple months ago was he expected to be ready for the beginning of training camp, and people kind of scoffed at that. And so I asked him about it tonight. I said, okay, how's your Achilles? You still talking beginning of training camp? Check out his videos on Twitter, on Instagram. He's running on a treadmill. He said he expects to be ready for training camp and ready to go next year. Now, the Warriors may feel something different about it. They may want him to rest. But Cousins adamantly says that he'll be ready for the Warriors' start of training camp.
So it seems like the read on this is that he's coming off the Achilles injury, and he wants to play himself back into full health. And
his thing was, this was the best of a nightmarish scenario. You have no offers. Okay, so what do you do? He probably could have conjured up a decent deal with a bad team. This guy is tired of losing. I'm in Sacramento where he lost a lot of games. He's ready to win. He wouldn't give me details of who else he talked to or considered for a mid-level, but he is super ecstatic. Obviously, the money isn't something to be ecstatic about for him, but he's super ecstatic about being able to play. As he said, I get to play with the champions. And for somebody that's lost as much as he has to potentially win a championship, it certainly makes the ease of losing so much money easier.
All right, Mark Spears with the latest on the DeMarcus Cousins signing. Mark, we appreciate it.
All right, Stan.
All right, so NBA Twitter is always the best, and they're having a blast with it. You saw Steph Curry. He's already called him the third Splash Brother. Joel Embiid, if you're not following him, you're not doing it right.
He has to weigh in.
He said the NBA is nuts, also the best league. Then there's still time to change your mind. And he also says, let's pull a DeAndre Jordan and just trust it. You remember Jordan backed out on that deal with the Mavs.
For perspective, let's bring in our Michael Wilbon here on SportsCenter. Michael, what's your reaction to this news?
This was wow. This is a different kind of surprise. LeBron going to L.A. wasn't a surprise. We knew there was a limited universe of places that he might go. Boogie Cousins going to Golden State, I don't think a lot of people were thinking about. Last night we were talking about the possibility early in the evening of him joining LeBron in Los Angeles. And now to go to the Warriors, it's also a wow because the element that the Warriors had not had was a big man who can do everything. I realize Boogie Cousins, of course, is coming off of an Achilles tear. If he can come back and be close to himself, the player that we saw last year where he was averaging more assists than anybody playing that position since Wilt, it brings several dimensions to the Warriors that they hadn't had, and they don't have to depend on him. They don't have to get a certain kind of performance from him every night. But if he goes out and delivers anything approaching what we saw last season on any kind of semi-regular basis, that's an enormous upgrade, it seems to me, from what the Warriors have had there.
Yeah, this could be a classic case of the rich getting richer. And, Michael, as you very well know, the NBA is the least or most predictable of all the sports, as you say, largely because of the best-of-7 format. What would you like, if anything, to see changed?
You know, I'd like to see, speaking of format, I'd love to see the league go back to best of 5 in the first round. That's probably the only change. And I think the finals, if we're talking about travel, I'd love to see 1 through 16 seeding. Do away with the conferences. I know Adam Silver has said travel's the issue, but LeBron's joining the Western Conference, moving to the Western Conference, could be the tipping point in that. But I think all of these things are going to be on the table for discussion, particularly among the Western Conference teams, looking at some of those teams that could win 49, 50 games, possibly be left out of the playoffs.
Yeah, Denver Nuggets were one of those teams just missing the playoffs a season ago. Of course, Paul Millsap injury contributed to that. That's our Michael Wilbon joining us here on Sports.
Cousins agreeing to a 1-year, $5.3 million deal with the Warriors, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. A source told Stephen A. Smith that all the players and Steve Kerr signed off on the addition of Boogie with the feeling that it's a low-risk move. The 27-year-old four-time All-Star is still recovering from a torn Achilles, is not expected to be back on the court until around Christmas or even after New Year's Eve. But he told Mark Spears he wants to be back by training camp. Now, the Warriors, as you might imagine, already the overwhelming favorites to win the title when free agency began. Even money, according to Westgate, Las Vegas Superbook. Now, their odds did move to -110 after LeBron agreed to join the Lakers. So what happened when Boogie joined the Warriors? Well, those odds are now -150, which means you have to risk $150 to win $100. We're joined now by Michael Wilbon. And, Mike, we've been talking over the last couple of days about all these moves and what it means for the league. When you heard that Boogie Cousins was joining a team that already had 4 guys that were all-stars last year, now making it 5 in the starting lineup, what was your reaction?
Laughter, Mike. I just, you just think, okay, Golden State literally must have been chuckling to themselves. I mean, you wonder, we're going to find out, of course, more soon about the details and how long this was in the works. When did they say to themselves, when did Bob Myers and Steve Kerr and the staff say, you know what, we can upgrade here? And talk about an upgrade. What's the one dimension, the one element that the Warriors have not really had during this entire run? A dynamic big man. A big man who, brings more than just a specific element. They would plug and play. We're going to bring in a guy who's a better passer now, bring in a better defender, bring in somebody who can, play some pick and roll. No. With Boogie Cousins, and we don't know what his recovery situation from his Achilles is going to be. People have come back frequently now, increasingly, from ACL tears and torn up knees in all dimensions. But the ACL has given a lot of people problems that they don't recover from still. If Boogie Cousins can come back and be mostly himself, he brings something in that position that the Warriors have not had, and they must be chuckling to themselves now.
Yeah, Cousins was averaging 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists before he tore that Achilles tendon back on January 26th. So much of the reaction, Mike, that I've seen so far, at least in social media, so take that with a grain of salt, has been overreaction, especially from fans that aren't from the Bay Area, saying that you do this, you're just ruining the NBA. The season's not worth watching anymore because they're going to win another title. What say you to the overreaction that we seem to be getting from saying that this is actually ruining the NBA?
Michael, I'm a lot older than you. I don't pay that much attention to Twitter and Instagram or any of it. You characterized it properly when you sort of hedged. That's not going to set the barometer for me in terms of the kinds of attention I pay to the NBA. Were the Golden State Warriors supposed to just sit by and let everybody else make improvements to their teams and do nothing? No, that's not the way any enterprise that's competitive works. So, that's a reaction I won't be dealing with in any sort of depth because I'm not paying any attention. If you're the Golden State Warriors and you see that teams are coming after you, that free agency now, people move, and they move in interesting ways. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're joining or putting together a super team, but people understand what it is. Look at what Houston did last year. And now you have the Lakers in the mix, and Houston still, despite the loss of Trevor Ariza, they're still coming. And so the Lakers, it may take another year, but the Warriors are supposed to do what? Say, oh, we don't want to get too far ahead of the field. We don't want to lap anybody, so we're just going to worry about social media and stand pat. No. They sought to improve their team. And you can't take, I hear other things, Michael, about people talking about how, the Warriors are going to be set for years and years and years. Nothing in the culture today has that kind of shelf life. So the Warriors are trying to win one more, this one.
You mentioned the Rockets. GM Daryl Morey has said publicly that he's obsessed with trying to beat the Warriors, Magic Johnson, in the wake of getting this LeBron James news, we've heard that they're trying to win now in L.A. What impact do you think this signing or future signing of DeMarcus Cousins to the Warriors will have on the rest of the summer as it relates to these rosters that are getting reshuffled?
Well, look, we knew that we talked about this last night, of course, with the Lakers. They're not done yet, and they're still tweaking. Of course, they come back the next day in less than 24 hours, with Rajon Rondo. So it's true, they weren't finished. And Daryl Morey, we know, in the best of times, if they had won, chances are he'd be tinkering. And, they came a Chris Paul hamstring away, perhaps, from winning the whole thing. Certainly the Western Conference. And so I don't know that this ups the ante for them. I still think they looked at the Warriors as something that was out there that they had to reach out and grab. The Lakers knew that starting almost from scratch. And Daryl Morey in Houston, they lost Trevor Ariza. So they're down a little bit here. What do they plan to do to fill that void, just to catch up, and then sort of improve so they can get back to this pursuit of the Golden State Warriors?
One of the best things about these offseason moves, Mike, is setting us up for the game, the matches we're going to have coming up later, whether it's opening night, Christmas Day, Lakers, Warriors, Rockets, Warriors, whoever it's going to be. It should be fun. Michael Wilbon, thanks for the time here on SportsCenter.
Thanks, Mark.
$8.3 million deal to join Golden State. He's a four-time All-Star at 27 years old, but he is recovering from a torn Achilles. Question mark when he'll be back to the lineup. He says training camp, the team expecting later. He averaged 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists before his injury last season. Woj joins us now. We heard from Mark Spears, who spoke to Boogie Cousins a little bit earlier, but more levels to this deal and how it played out. Woj, what have you learned?
Well, so with DeMarcus Cousins, yes, the injury played a big part in depressing the market for him. The fact that there wasn't salary cap space in a lot of places. But here's a reality DeMarcus Cousins had to deal with and now has to start to rectify in Golden State. His image. There were teams with space who did not want him in their locker room, didn't want him in their organization. And he knows that. And he made great strides in New Orleans to turn into a winning player. He got along great with people there. But he has more work to do. He's going to get that chance in Golden State because it was explained to him, DeMarcus, there's going to be nights when you are back playing where you're going to get 5 or 6 shots and you can't complain about it. This thing's not going to be built around you. You've got to fit into it. And I think this gives him a chance to prove those things to people in Golden State. And then for the Warriors, here's something that they really like about having Cousins there. Because he will not be ready for training camp, he won't be ready for the start of the season. Maybe December, maybe January, maybe later. Number one, there's no rush to bring him back. They're going to win with him or without him. And the time he's away, he's going to be sitting on the bench with Steve Kerr. He's going to be sitting there in practice and games. They're going to get to know each other. They're going to get to build a relationship before he ever steps on the court. And they think that's really important in Golden State.
So before this news dropped, NBA Twitter was all in arms about Rajon Rondo, of all people, joining the Lakers. Of course, LeBron James just agreeing to go there as well. What led into that move in terms of the Lakers thinking to add Rondo? Because you already have Lonzo Ball, who they drafted last year, to be their point guard of the future.
Listen, this is a message to Lonzo Ball. I mean, his injury, that knee injury, I think there was a belief around the Lakers is that it was within his world that got leaked out there to keep him from getting traded. He doesn't want to be traded from L.A.
Right.
It wasn't the Lakers who wanted information out on that knee injury. There were a lot of teams who were checking on possible deals with the Lakers. They wanted to know. There were a lot of questions about that knee. And they want winning veteran players there. This is what you have LeBron James now, and he's 33 years old. And especially Rondo on a one-year deal. They want win now guys. And Rondo's going to challenge Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball couldn't stay on the court last year. There were questions about his fitness and the kind of shape he was in. He's coming off a knee injury. They need him on the court. So Rondo's, how Rondo is going to compete, and he'll compete internally. I think it'll make Lonzo Ball better to have Rondo around him, pushing him and mentally challenging him, because there's not a more intelligent a point guard in the league who understands schemes and tendencies of other players than Rajon Rondo. He's a genius level player.
Yeah, he's known around the league for calling out the sets of other teams even before those guys call them out. Real quick question on the Lakers. They say they're trying to win now. They told LeBron that. What's the expectation that they still got some more moves to make here?
Yeah, I mean, whether they can bring in another backup center, but they need more shooting. And Rondo, you know, when you're going to surround LeBron James with talent, you need shooting.
Right.
This is a team that needs more, and you'll maybe see them start to address it. But everybody wants shooting in the league. There's not a lot of guys, especially at the veteran minimum kind of contract, which is all they can afford.
Well, it was good stuff. Lakers making moves, but also the defending champions as well. Again, agreeing to a one-year, $5.3 million